This recently come to my attention. There's some debate as to whether or not it's faster to reload the gun when you do so with the gun nearly at full extension. The magazine will come out, you will draw a new magazine from your belt, bring your hand about 90% of the distance back out to the handgun, insert the magazine, and then complete the final 10% of movement back out to on target out here. And that is supposed to be faster than if the left hand comes down 100% of the distance from full extension to the belt, grabs a magazine, and then encounters the firearm at 25% of the movement, inserts the magazine into the firearm, and then pushes 75% of the distance back out onto target. If you have a clue, you already understand that it can't be any faster one way or the other. You simply have 100% movement from full extension, hand comes to the belt, grabs a magazine, inserts it into the firearm, and then comes back out to full extension. Whether you do this magazine reload at 90% extension with 90% movement to here, 10% after the reload, or if the reload is done at 25% movement, encounters the gun, 75% movement back out to full extension, all you're doing is, one, increasing the distance that you have to move, or the time it takes for you to move the magazine to the firearm out here, and decrease the time after the reload, or you've decreased the time of the reload before the magazine encounters the firearm and increase the amount of time after the magazine goes into the firearm out to here. It's still 100% movement of the left hand to the belt, or the weak hand to the belt, and then back out to full extension. Another thing that's come to my attention is that we have some kind of advice, mostly in the tactical law enforcement type of circles, that we've been engaged in some type of gunfight. And now we decide we're going to reload. The threat is dropped. It's no longer an active target that we're shooting at. And so the reload retention comes into play, where we keep the firearm pointed at this threat, stow away that magazine, take a fresh magazine, insert it into the firearm in this very awkward position to be ready to shoot this guy again if we need to. What is going to happen if he decides to get into the fight with that magazine coming out and a new magazine not yet into the gun? Are you going to shoot him with the one shot that you have left in your firearm? Bang. And now you're empty. And now you're trying to fumble with a reload. And then you got to cycle the slide to get the gun back into a firing position. It's really kind of dumb. We've shot. The threat seems to be neutralized. It's not engaging us any further. Give it a little time. See if he decides to come around. Keep that functioning gun that you know was working just a moment ago still trained on him. And then if it's time for you to reload, do a speed reload. Magazine comes out, new magazine comes in. It's done quickly. You minimize the time that he can engage you with a gun that's not fully functional. But this is silly. Taking a magazine out, doing a reload retention, and then inserting it in this awkward position while keeping the gun trained on him. To actually improve your reload, let's talk about the things that have to take place and those parts of the reload that are actually most important. The magazine's going to have to be released from the gun. Press the magazine release button, the magazine drops out. Your hand is going to have to come from the firearm to your belt where the mag holder is, remove that magazine from the belt, and then insert it into the magazine, reacquire the grip, and then point back at the threat. Of all those steps, the three that are most important are, one, removing the magazine. Some firearms are very finicky. If you crush that magazine release button in, you can actually stop the release of that magazine from the firearm. It'll start to release it, it'll drop a short distance, and then catch it again, and the magazine does not come fully out of the firearm. Learn your firearm, know how to properly press your magazine release button so the magazine comes out cleanly. Your hand's going to come down to the belt. This is the second critical element, that you have to get a proper hand placement onto your magazine as it comes out of the magazine holder with the index finger pointed along the front of the magazine, and then use that as a way of pointing that magazine into the magazine well of the firearm, open the hand and insert it. This is the most critical element. That more magazine fumbles take place here as you don't insert this magazine properly. People literally miss magazines, throw them out, they get bent, all kinds of fun stuff happens. Look it, see it into the magazine well, and then open the hand and insert it in there. I know, from a tactical standpoint, somebody's probably told you out there that you have to keep your eyes on the threat the entire time. Imagine now trying to do a reload while you're looking out here and now try to insert this magazine into the firearm under stress with adrenaline. It's not happening. It's stupid. Stop listening to that person. Grab the magazine, look at your magazine well for that brief moment in time as you insert the magazine into the firearm, and get it in there so the gun is reloaded. Reacquire your grip. Look back to the threat. It's a very minimal amount of time. He's not going to do anything in that split second that you're not going to be able to deal with after you've got the gun reloaded.